for the anything and everything
and shit
podcast. Justin and Eric.
What's up, everybody?
What's happening, y'all? Welcome back to season 2.
Yeah, episode 15.
Heck yeah. Thank you once again for tuning into our podcast.
Sure.
We definitely appreciate it.
Thank you.
Welcome back, Justin.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Eric.
Season. I'm getting ready to rock this thing. We got some good stories for you today.
For sure.
Yeah, thanks to all our subscribers from the first season to help us out and get us started on this thing. Man, we're cruising. We really appreciate it.
Heck yeah.
So, yeah, we got some stories for you today about a phone booth in the middle of nowhere, and it actually worked. Kept ringing 24 hours a day. People all over the world calling it. Some strange happenings.
Yeah.
We'll talk about what in the world happened to Jim Carrey.
Dude, this is a crazy one, too. I'm just like...
Is he still alive?
Right? What the heck is going on? You know, he always said some stuff about, you know, if this happened.
Yep.
So...
If somebody comes back looking different,
yep,
it's not me.
Question.
And he's not the only one, so we'll talk about that. And we also have something about an exorcist that says that he encountered a man that had 27 demons at one time taking over. It's like, man, I can only imagine just having one.
All right. 27.
Yeah. Like,
dude, I mean, it's an interesting one, too. I'm just like, wow.
Talk about being batshit crazy.
Right? Well, you know,
you
you see some people walking down the street and you wonder.
Right. Yeah. And it could be rampant these days. You never know.
Never know.
Yeah. And we also have a story about being spoon-fed radiation.
This one's insane.
Yeah.
I'm just like, wow.
Guess who is sponsoring this one?
Gather round. This happened. The Mojave Desert, California, 1997. 15 miles from the nearest paved road. Down a rutted dirt track most vehicles couldn't handle, there stood a phone booth. A standard Pacific Bell booth. Glass walls, metal shelf, dangling phone book, working dial tone. It had been there for decades. No one remembers exactly why. The mine it served closed years ago. The workers were long gone. But Pacific Bell kept paying the electricity. The line stayed active. The booth just sat there in the emptiness, waiting. Then a man named Godfrey Doc Daniels found the number. He'd read about it in a punk zine. Some guy in Los Angeles had spotted a tiny telephone icon on the map and driven out to find it. Something about that stuck with Daniels. A phone booth in the middle of nowhere. A working number that no one ever called. He started calling every day. He taped each call, stated the date and time, let the phone ring, and hung up. He stuck a post-it note on his bathroom mirror. Did you remember to call the Mojave Desert today? He made every visitor to his house call the number 2. Half an hour of tape. Nothing but ringing and the sound of his friends leaving messages for nobody. Then, less than a month in, June 20th, he got a busy signal. Someone was using the phone. He hit redial over and over until the line started ringing again. A woman answered. Her name was Lorene. She lived out near the old mine. She didn't have a phone of her own, so she walked to the booth. Daniels built a website about it. He posted the number, 760-733-9969, and a simple challenge. Call it. See if anyone answers. The internet fell in love. People started calling from around the world. London, Tokyo, Sao Paulo. The phone rang constantly in the empty desert, day and night. Then, people started making the trip. They wanted to be on the other end. They wanted to answer. And what they found out there changed them forever. People started calling the Mojave phone booth from around the world. The phone rang constantly in the empty desert day and night, and eventually people started making the trip to answer it. They drove for hours on paved highway, then turned onto 15 miles of unpaved dirt road that rattled their cars and covered everything in dirt. They arrived at a phone booth standing alone in a landscape so empty it could have been on another planet. The glass was shot out. The phone book was gone. Graffiti covered every surface. Names, dates, messages from people who'd made the journey. And they waited. When the phone rang, the sound hit hard. In the total silence of the desert, no traffic, no voices, no hum of any kind, a ringing phone was almost violent, and you couldn't ignore it.
That's weird. Mojave Desert. This is it. Fine, thanks.
People picked up and found themselves talking to strangers from halfway around the world.
So there's actually a modern push-button phone there?
Yes, there is.
And nobody's ripped it out or destroyed it?
No, and Art, it rings 24 hours a day, 7 days a week from around the world. I talk to Switzerland. I talk to Australia, Africa. Of course, I talk to Kansas, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
What?
The conversations were strange and personal. Something about the isolation made people open up. They told secrets. They confessed things they'd never said out loud. They talked to the booth like it was a priest, anonymous and free of judgment. The New York Times wrote about it in May 1998. That blew the doors off. Documentary crews showed up. Musicians wrote songs about it. The booth got its own fan sites, its own mythology. People camped next to it for days, waiting for the next call, talking to whoever happened to dial the number. This was 1997, 1998, 1999, the early internet, when the web still felt like a place where weird things could happen, where a phone booth in the desert could become the most important place in the world just because enough people decided it was. But there was something else about the phone calls. They weren't always friendly. Campers at the booth started reporting strange things. Not every call was a curious stranger or a fellow fan. Some calls were just static, a low electrical hum that sounded like the desert wind had gotten into the wires. Some were garbled voices, words that didn't quite form into anything you could understand, sounds that might have been human or might not have been. One camper answered a call at 3 a.m. The desert was pitch black, no moon, no artificial light for miles in any direction, just stars and silence. He picked up the receiver. A voice whispered, "I see you." He looked around. Nothing. Darkness in every direction. No cars, no flashlights, no movement. He was alone. He hung up. The phone rang again. Same voice, same whisper. "I see you." He didn't answer the third time. He got in his car and drove 15 miles of dirt road in the dark. The whole way out, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching him from the hills. Other visitors reported the same kind of thing. Calls that felt off. Voices that didn't sound quite human. The feeling of being watched in a place where no one should have been watching. Some saw lights in the sky above the booth. Not planes or satellites. Something else. Others felt vibrations in the ground when the phone rang, like the booth was connected to something underneath the desert. The booth pulled in true believers who thought it was a portal, a beacon, an antenna drawing attention from things that weren't human. It pulled in skeptics who came to prove the stories wrong and left feeling uneasy. And it pulled in people who just wanted to answer a phone in the middle of nowhere, to prove that connection was still possible even in the most isolated place on Earth. And for 3 years, the Mojave phone booth rang. On May 17th, 2000, Pacific Bell sent a crew into the desert. They tore down the booth, ripped up the concrete pad, and disconnected the line. Per company policy, the phone number was retired. A Pac Bell spokesman later confirmed what fans had feared. They hadn't just removed the booth, they destroyed it. The official reason was environmental damage. Too many visitors driving off-road, tearing up the desert, leaving trash in what had become the Mojave National Preserve. But there was more to it. The preserve superintendent had confronted Pac Bell about long-forgotten easement fees for the land the booth sat on. Fees that had gone unpaid for years, maybe decades. Pacific Bell didn't fight it, they just pulled the plug. The number 760-733-9969 went dead. Someone placed a headstone at the site, an actual grave marker, like a memorial for a dead friend. The National Park Service removed that too. But people still visit. They drive the 15 miles of dirt road, park in the sand, and stand in the empty spot where the booth used to be. Nothing there now, just scrub brush and the faint outline where concrete once was, and the desert is already taking it back. Visitors hear a phantom ring, a faint electronic sound rising from the desert floor, coming from nowhere, drifting across the emptiness. The people who hear it swear it's real. It sounds like the booth is still there, buried under the sand, still connected to something, still waiting for someone to answer. In 2013, a phone freak named Lucky225 acquired the old number through a voice over IP provider. He set it up so callers could reach a conference line, strangers talking to strangers again, just like the old days. The booth was gone, but the number lived. Doc Daniels spent 10 years writing a book about the whole thing. Adventures with the Mojave phone booth came out in 2018, funded by a Kickstarter campaign. NPR's Snap Judgment did a segment on it. The podcast 99% Invisible devoted an episode to it. The novelist J.G. Ballard called the booth a kind of talismanic object, something that shouldn't have mattered, but did, for reasons nobody could fully explain. Thousands of people drove hours into the desert just to talk to strangers. They told secrets to a phone booth in the middle of nowhere because it felt safer than telling anyone they actually knew. The booth was a piece of forgotten equipment, a leftover from 1948 that nobody bothered to disconnect, a policy station for a dead mine. The desert is quiet now. The concrete is gone. The confessional is closed. But somewhere under the sand, something is still waiting for a signal.
Dude, that's like, what the heck, man? I mean, like in the middle of the desert. I mean, who?
Bro,
I mean,
that would freak me out just because if I was just out like four-wheeling or something, you know, and
man,
I was like, dude, is that a phone booth?
Right.
And it started ringing.
Yeah.
On top of that.
Oh,
don't touch it. Don't
right,
touch
yeah,
it. Just get back in the truck.
Get away.
Let's go. Don't tell anybody what you saw here.
Just so nuts. But yeah, I mean, and that's like, you know, I mean, I grew up in the desert, and I mean, obviously not that part, but I mean, dude, it was all the time. You'd see ATVs and, you know, doom buggies and just, but yeah, and if you were to run, that would totally freak me out. And then would you, I don't know, I might answer it because I'm just that type of person, you know, but yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, honestly, that kind of freaked me out. You know what I mean? Like, just the fact that there is actually a working phone booth.
Right.
In this day and age would freak me out a little bit. But then, you know, maybe somebody's calling for help.
You never know. I mean, you know, they, you know, saying that, you know, you're able to connect with people across the world and stuff like that. And, you know, that was kind of a cool part, you know what I mean? But yeah, it would still
but
be,
I mean, like when they said that they felt like they were being watched. That's the part I'm talking about. It's like
creepy.
A running car, and you can see the keys in it, and the windows are down, and you're like,
right.
This looks like a bait car.
Totally.
You know, like I'm not getting in that phone booth, man. I'm sorry. Just that's my own thing. I wouldn't do it.
Right. It'd be like
I'm adventurous, but not that adventurous. It's like, well, then, you know, who knows what that voice was that was saying, I see you. And, you know, anybody could be doing that.
Right. It's just to mess with people and stuff like that. Yeah. But, I mean, it's still, you're in the middle of the desert, and it's dark in the desert. Yeah. I mean, that's literally like, you know, that, that's all you see is
stars. It's like the darkest dark. Right,
for reals,
man. Yeah, like the only light there is from the stars.
Just stars, yeah, and you can see all of them. It's badass, but dude, yeah, that'd be scary, man.
Yeah,
I see you. What's in your hand? Chapstick. You know, that's that kind of creepy. Yeah, man. That's that kind of creepy.
Yeah, that is crazy. Well, hold tight. We're gonna see what these guys have to say about Jim Carrey.
Right on.
this whole Epstein case, the alien distraction didn't work. What are we gonna do? Oh yeah. Cue the fake Jim Carrey.
Alrighty then.
My favorite funny face is the one I'm wearing right now.
I don't know what to tell you. It's working on me. What the happened with Jim Carrey? I can tell you this. Some wild speculation is happening after the actor appeared at a film thing in Paris and he didn't look or act like himself. Many are saying he's a fake Jim Carrey, and they're asking what happened to the real one. Look at these photos taken just 4 months apart. Something about Jim changed. But is it something more than Jim seeing an intoxicated plastic surgeon? Well, to dispel the rumors that we saw a fake Jim Carrey, a makeup artist named Alexis Stone has come out, probably gay by the way, saying he was playing the fake Jim Carrey all along. And as Dusty Slay points out, people said this was a fake Jim Carrey, and it's been debunked by saying it was a fake Jim Carrey. People are stupid. This just in! That debunking has now been debunked too, because the Caesar Awards show in France has come out and said, no, that was the real Jim Carrey we had at our event. So that brings us to the unanswered question, what the happened to Jim Carrey? Some say he was eliminated and replaced because he said too much. Too much about what? Take a look.
I don't know what happened in 1990. There was no plague that was killing children, that we had triple the amount of vaccines.
What happened after 1989?
The why did they
that warranted 26 more vaccines?
Greed.
Yeah. Say more, Jim.
We in America are misinformed. Reality shows have warped our idea of what a hero is, or what the truth is.
And here's Jim directly shining the light on the underbelly of the elites on Jimmy Kimmel.
Right? Yeah. What is it? Come on, Jimmy. Seriously, the time is up. People are hip to this kind of stuff. I'm here tonight to blow the lid off it, to be the whistleblower. I'm sick and tired of the secrets and the lies. It is the secret symbol of the Illuminati, and you're a part of it. And it is the all-mocking tongue.
Well, that probably had nothing to do with anything. But anyway, not long after that, his girlfriend mysteriously committed suicide, which happens to be a very common condition that affects people and their families that say too much. This just in! According to this article, the real Jim Carrey is conveniently dead and was cloned on Epstein Island. So that's who you saw. Yeah. I'm actually on board with that. This explanation makes the most sense out of anything I've heard. Crazy times we're living in. That's it for today's news. If you'll excuse me, I've got to go fight off my clone. Oh yeah, and you might want to keep your head on a swivel. Boston shooter over the weekend may have had some terroristic motivations, as he had on a Property of Allah shirt and a Quran was found in his car. Ugh. But you ask, how would thousands of Iranian terrorists get into our country? Remember the open borders we had during the Biden years? That causes a big problem now. Good night. Is my clone done eating breakfast? Yeah, you tell my clone if he doesn't behave, I'm making him into beef jerky. People are stupid.
Well, yeah,
Dude, you know, I could tell right off the bat that wasn't him.
Dude, for
I mean,
real.
most people could. Obviously, the eyes don't match.
Yeah,
nothing matches.
Well, I mean, just the cheekbones alone, and that's, you know, I mean, unless he had plastic surgery and really like real quick, because that takes a long time to heal from, and I mean, and that's like I was saying with his you know, his smiley frown, you know, his smiley line. So they're not the same.
That picture was from 4 months before.
Right, and that's why I'm like, it just didn't make any sense to me.
His hair couldn't have grown that fast.
Dude, it's just
it's no way.
It was creepy. I mean, it just looking at it, I was just like, that is creepy. And then, you know, he always said, I'm out of this business. If you see me doing something for this business, it's not me.
Yep.
And Jim Carrey is kind of one of those things that he's been out for a long time.
He's been against the movie industry and all that stuff for a long time. You know, that's why you don't see him in many movies at all.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, I can't even remember the last one that he's been in. Like any voiceovers. I don't know. Did he ever do any voiceovers? I don't know if he did, but his movie.
I can't even remember the last movie I saw that was like a new movie.
Yeah, I mean, last one I kind of remember was Dick and Jane.
Oh yeah, that's probably.
I think that was probably maybe.
Yeah,
it's
been a long time. Man. It's
right?
More than 20 years.
Yeah, so it's
well,
kinda
you know, like Jim Brewer has actually talked about Dave Chappelle. You know, when he had a mental breakdown and turned down $50 million, and he's like, "That's what they tell you, man. They do this with everybody. They tell you that you went crazy or something like that because you went against what they wanted you to do."
Right.
So when he came back. He was like a completely different guy. You know, he was this little, like, thin, wiry person. And then he comes back and he's like Debo. Right. He's like, let me tell you all some jokes with this little toothpick. It's like, what happened, man? Roids or replacement?
Well, right. And especially because, you know, supposedly you went to Africa and you know,
right.
I mean, there's not I just don't see him laying around in Africa getting fat.
He went out there and ran from lions and fought alligators to get buff.
Not a lot of people in Africa are fat, you know. I mean,
dude, but seriously, they're not buff like that either.
Right?
Like when he came out,
weird. I mean,
it's nuts. So I don't know, man. It's just the way Hollywood works. It's always been like a mind game, you know.
And you see a lot of these actors and actresses starting to get, you know, facelifts and stuff, and you're just like, why?
Well,
why?
I mean, they get sex changes.
True that.
You know, like, nothing's off the table anymore, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what I was thinking, too. He looks kind of like a Caitlyn Jenner or something.
It was, yeah.
Like he's on his way there.
In a weird way.
Yeah. And, you know, they were trying to debunk it, saying that makeup artist from Hollywood that does a bunch of different disguises and tries to act like all these other stars or whatever was the one that did it. And then they debunked that. And then now
it's back.
It's back. Yeah. Now that is the reason. Either way, it doesn't matter to me. What is the point? Like, don't give somebody that wants nothing to do with you an award. And, you know, obviously your little experiment failed. Because everybody was like instantly on it.
What the flip is that? Yeah.
Seriously.
I mean, even if Jim Carrey, you know, he's like, I don't care what you do, you know, do whatever you want. Just leave me you know. Yep. But just so freaking weird. I mean, it looked like a freaking zombie person almost. I mean, it tried to pass off.
Sound like him.
Yeah. And
it'd be like me coming in here going, hi, everybody. How's it going? I'm just so happy to be here today. Thank you for letting me be here. I'm so happy. This was just such an amazing day. This is such an amazing place. I'm so happy. Like, if I come in here talking like that, shoot that guy, because that is not me. You know, anybody hears me talking like that, they're like, what's up with this guy?
Right.
Like,
I mean, yeah.
That's just not how I roll.
Right.
Like, I might be hard to hear sometimes, but it's not because I'm talking like that. You know?
Totally.
Like, holy crap, dude. I mean, that was creepy.
Very creepy.
Just talking like that was creepy. The whole thing was creepy. I'm actually sorry for making you guys watch that, because that was creepy stuff.
I still just don't understand the whole reasoning why, though. That's what baffles me. Is there are we going to find out, like, in a couple of weeks of some, you know, just alternative motive, or it just
it was some social experiment,
some social experiment, you know, Jim Carrey was there all with it, but
we just wanted to see if we could get you guys. I'm just
kidding.
kidding,
you know,
it's just a joke.
We want to see how blind you guys really are with the, you know, diversions and all that good stuff to it. Did you fall?
Right. I've already pulled enough tricks on you already. We were just going to see what else we can do.
It's getting thick. Time to get our shovels.
Dude, that was over the top.
Yeah, man, that was
scary looking. For real.
Creepy.
They can never get the eyes right. People that know what I'm talking about know what I'm talking about.
Person's eyes never lie.
Never get the eyes right.
27 demons and one human?
Yeah.
What was the one in modern history?
The Mormons. It's a modified form of Freemasonry anyway.
How many demons are there?
Billions, literally.
Can a demon possess multiple people at one time?
Yeah, so all the gods of the Gentiles are demons.
What's the most you've seen?
Well, I said this one had Legion. And I believe it was Legion. But outside that context, the one that I've seen the most is 27.
27 demons and one human?
Yeah. And it was a pretty sad case. This guy was a hurting unit, man, from all that. So most of them, though, it's somewhere between 1 to 8, maybe, are the most, as you tend to see as a general rule. I actually did see a case where I did one case where I got rid of one demon of fear. The woman went out and did something really stupid, and then when she came back, it was literally like scripture: 1 leaves and 7 come back, and that was literally she had 7. So, so the number of possessors, the names, because once you know the name, there's 2 aspects to the name. One, it gives you an identity. So, for example, when I had Loki in a case, once the demon revealed what his name was, then I was able to actually go and research historically Loki as a Norse god, because it says right in scripture, all the gods of Gentiles are demons. And so you can actually just go and look at the worship that they used to give to Loki in the past, and to the Norse god of Loki. And what you'll find out in there is it was almost a complete description of his personality. He's a god of mischief. And so he was just such a handle to get a hold of. But once you know the name, then you can do some research, or you can ask other exorcists if you've seen this guy, etc. The second thing is the name gives you a power over them. Now, demons will either reveal their name right off the bat if it's not going to help, if it's not going to be mean that much, or they'll hold out as long as they possibly can, because once you know their name, then it gives you a certain power over them. We actually experience this as human beings. So if I call your name, hey, Sean, if you're standing over there and I say, hey, Sean, right? When it goes into your faculties and you hear it, it draws your attention. Well, it's the same thing with them. When you're using their name, it draws their attention, and they can't get their mind off of the thing that you're telling them to do. And so it gives you a power actually over them. So the names, how they got in, because a lot of times how they got in is how they're going to get out. Plus, times how they got in is very often, like if it's because they were wounded very badly, like a woman was raped or something of that sort, then you have maybe some psychological issues that have to be addressed first before she's going to get liberated. And then the time and date of departure when you're leaving. I don't ask that too often because they usually lie. Now, only about 10% of the time do they actually tell the truth, but they usually lie. They'll say, oh, I'm leaving tomorrow, and then tomorrow comes and goes and they don't leave. And the reason they're doing that is they're trying to discourage the person who's possessed. And then the last piece of information is, what is it going to take to get you out? And usually it's something very simple. So in the last case that the woman was liberated that I was working with, it took us a long time to get out this piece of information. She had to go to a specific altar in a particular church, and I had to say a specific prayer over her, and she would leave, and he would leave. We did it. Boom, he was out. But it took us a long time to get him to that point. That piece of information is what they're going to hold out. And there's 6 stages of liberation. Stage 6 is liberation. Stage 5, that last piece of information is going to come out in stage 5.
Wow. When you're talking about curses, does this play into this as well, curses? Can you ask who the curse came from?
Yes. Well, they'll often reveal it. So if the person's possessed, you'll actually, if they're not possessed, the demons can't talk necessarily. Whereas if the person's possessed, you can beat him to the surface and force him to talk, and he'll talk. And then at that point, they'll, if the person was cursed, you have to break the curse, and that's going to be how you're going to liberate them. And so as a result, the demon's going to have to tell you at some point who cursed them and how it was done. And then there's usually specific things that you can do to invert those or break the curses.
How many demons are there?
Billions, literally. So when God created all the angels, he created the entire hierarchy of angels instantaneously all at once. And so starting from the seraphim, which is at the top, all the way down to just angels at the bottom. Of the class of the angels alone, there's one subset, which is the guardian angels. And every human being that has reached, that has basically been born or basically been conceived has had a guardian angel created specifically for that particular individual. So you're talking billions just in that one subclass. The number of angels that fell is from Book of Revelation, where Satan took a third of the stars and with his tail and swept them down. So that's, the fathers say that means that a third of the angels actually fell. Now, not a third get to possess or have much to do with us in this life. Most of the possessions that we see are from the top rank, which is the top three choirs, the thrones, the cherubim, and the seraphim. So, it'd be Satan, Lucifer, and Beelzebub, but there would also be Baal, Asmodeus, Leviathan, Lilith, Baphomet, and then also Moloch. Those are the ones in the middle. There's also other ones like Abaddon, who are kind of in the middle. You don't see too many in the middle tier very often. And then you'll see a lot of the lower grunt guys at the bottom, whose job is to just kind of do the bidding of the guys at the top. And so those are where you see most of the possessed and demons coming from.
And so when they name themselves, is this all recorded? I mean, when you're talking about billions of demons and you get one to name itself during an exorcism, you go do some research. I mean, how many times has it been where it wasn't recorded?
Most of it, actually.
Most of it.
Yeah, because historically, to be an exorcist was done by mentorship. So what would happen is if you were chosen to be an exorcist, you would go and study under some guy for like 1 year to 2 years, and then he would teach you all these things, that we're talking about. And so you would learn those things, and you'd learn the names of demons, and you'd see them in session and get a sense for them before you started out on your own. But because of the number of exorcists collapsed in the church, and then now they're just trying to get it back up off the ground. We teach classes, actually. My community and I, we'd actually teach classes. And then there's also a place in Mundelein that teaches courses on this particular topic. And so, but then we encourage people to come and sit on session, because it's one thing for me to tell you that, oh yeah, people change shape during session, and it's another thing to actually see it and see what you're actually looking at. So, because anytime demons preternaturally manifest, there's a real revelation, something about the demon. It's called the cause is always some way in the effect. It's a philosophical principle. The cause is always some way in the effect. And so they're revealing it. So when they do those types of things, those things don't, the only thing I'm really interested in is, what am I seeing? What can I learn from what is going on in this guy? Because that information is going to tell me something about him, and it's going to be helpful for me to get him out.
But before we move into shape-shifting and that kind of stuff, I'm just curious. So would that be your responsibility to record a new name with a new personality?
So we don't necessarily record it, but we are actually in the process of building a database, so that exorcists would have access to the database. Because some of the common ones like Satan, Lucifer, and those things, or even some of the more common ones like Abaddon, is the demon of destruction. You'll get, you can find out a fair amount of information about these guys. We'll put those in the database, but there's a lot of ones that are less known, and so exorcists come across them. I've come across demons that other exorcists haven't. They've come across demons that I've never even heard of, or nobody's ever even heard of. And it seems authentic, etc. So we want to get a database so that going forward, exorcists, if they come across somebody, they don't have to spend all the time doing the research. They can just quickly go take a look at the database and get a sense of, this is what the guy's weaknesses are. This is what he got out in these cases. This is what got him out. This is his history. Because like the god of Isis or Osiris, those are Egyptian gods, but those are also demons. So if you know what those are, then you can actually, don't have to go and read a bunch of Egyptian in order to know what these guys are.
Can a demon possess multiple people at one time?
Yeah, you can. I actually had a case of that. Well, 2 cases, where the same possessor was possessing 2 sisters who were blood related. And so when we would do sessions with one, the other one would manifest from time to time outside of the session.
Holy shit!
So we had to do a lot of stuff to keep them, from what we call cross animation, which is where, when they're around each other, the demons are going to manifest. So you see that from time to time where someone who's possessed, they'll get around someone else who's possessed, and whoever has the lower demons in them will be the one where the lowest demon will manifest in the presence of the bigger demon. But they can possess more than one. They generally can only act on one thing at a time.
Okay.
But Thomas Aquinas says that they can act on a number of different things at the same time if it all falls under the same conceptual idea. So, for example, someone can juggle where they're keeping several things in the air at once. The demons can act on, I'm going to act on these three people that I'm possessing because I'm, my access to them is the same. And so they can act on three people at the same time. But normally they don't do that.
And it sounds like all of these demons were false gods at some point. You said a Norse god, Egyptian gods, Baal, Moloch.
Yeah. Not
Baphomet.
Yeah, so all the gods of the Gentiles are demons, which is true. I mean, the only ones I haven't come across are ones like for the Romans. Like I haven't come across Mars or Jupiter or something like that. But the Egyptian gods come across, several of those. The Norse ones are taking them. They're rising up because of they're being introduced or being used in video games and things of that sort that the young men are doing. So you're starting to see more of those. But not all the demons made themselves out to be a god to someone else. So Satan never really did, even though he wants people to worship him. He doesn't have a specific religion. He wants his own.
And they all fall under him.
They do, yeah.
What about Greek gods?
Yeah, it's the same. Some I've seen exorcist scenes, some we haven't. So, I suspect at some point some exorcist has come across, Venus or whatever, but we just don't hear about it too often.
And so when we get into, looking back through time, when we're talking about Norse gods, Baal, Moloch, Greek god, any gods that, throughout history, does that mean that those gods were introduced by a demon?
Very often. So what will happen is, historically, either the demon will possess somebody in a particular culture, and then from there, the person kind of becomes like this oracle from which the rituals and the worship is designed, and the people are swayed into doing it. You're not going to have a case where they're actually going to appear as a general rule, although that has happened historically, where demons will appear as angels of light and claim to be, from God, and then say this is what you're supposed to do, and getting the person to start their own religion. We've seen that happen a couple of times actually. One in more modern history, and one year 600. So we've seen those particular things happen.
What was the one in modern history?
The Mormons. So, I'm sure there's a lot of the Mormons out there are not going to be happy that I said that, but the angel that appeared to him, it actually gets to the line from St. Paul, which is actually on the outside of the cathedral in Salt Lake, if I'm not mistaken, but out on the outside, it's, even if an angel were to preach to you another gospel. So you have those particular things that are actually, and the other thing is that, at least in the relationship with the Mormons, I don't want to get too deep into it, but that it's actually, it's a modified form of Freemasonry anyway.
That sounds like the ultimate deception. If they come to you in a light, to appear to be angelic, how does that look in God's eyes? Fall into that deception.
Well, God's allowing it, obviously, because they literally, like I said, the battlefield is completely determined by Christ. So Christ is allowing it. And I once asked this one colleague of mine, I said, well, what do you think is the reason for the Muslims? And he said, to afflict the West. right? So God will allow these particular things to afflict us in order for us to get our act together, but also to reveal to us that, look, if you start your own religion, it's just going to go bad and it's just not going to be true. So I think in God's eyes, I think that's part of it. But I think on the side of the human beings, we're just easily deceived. Because demons they can present themselves in a very positive light. Everywhere from anything from actually appearing as an angel of light, when people actually see this bright figure appear in front of them, all the way down to giving people amorous feelings, to where so the person says, "Oh, it must be from God because it's helping me to love people more." No, that's not necessarily the case.
Will we be judged for that? I mean, that it just sounds like the ultimate deception, almost, and he allowed it.
Yeah.
So can we be blamed if we're that? I mean, earlier you had mentioned, we're stupid. We are stupid.
We are stupid. On the other hand, we're not that stupid. So, what degree of deception? I mean, ultimately, God would be able to judge the particular individual soul. So it might be possible that someone started their own religion not knowing that they were completely deceived. But my experience in reading about these people's history is there's often points that after they've had these experiences that it becomes clear to them, or they start having the thoughts, maybe I'm possessed, or maybe this isn't from God. And so they don't take the necessary steps to properly discern it.
Dude, that's
27.
Yeah, that's freaking a lot.
Billions of demons roaming the earth, man.
I mean, and that's the thing is like, there's a lot of evil people on this planet. Real. And I mean,
when he asked, can they possess multiple people at one time? I was like, the first thing I thought about was the government.
Right.
I know I'm going to catch a lot of flack for this, probably get shadow banned or whatever, but what? Okay.
Fuck it.
It's somebody's got to speak the truth one day, someday, and it just like, that's what it seems like. It seems like they're always
right. I mean, there's
killing people is no big deal.
Right.
And it doesn't matter what side you're on with Iran war, any war. You know what I mean? Ever since I was a little kid, I was always just like, well, how come we can't just arm wrestle or something?
Right. Yeah. There's got to be a better way than just sacrificing all these people.
Fight your guys.
People that don't even care about your political.
We have to kill. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's demonic in itself.
Right.
And that's sacrificing humans. That's why he was talking about Moloch. You know what I mean? And we've talked about Bohemian Grove on one of our episodes before, and that's exactly what that was all about, was sacrificing babies or
people,
humans to the god of sacrifice, Moloch. And it's like, it's everywhere. So it doesn't surprise me that a demon can possess multiple people. And they said there's billions. And that's why I believe like the whole
Moloch's the
pronouns thing, where they're trying to get people to start calling themselves they or them. That's a demonic thing to me, because you're trying to act like you're a part of Legion. Like I'm supposed to think that you're a multitude of people, not just one person, by saying that. And it's like, first off, that doesn't work in the English language. And second, I'm not going to glorify a demon, period. Bark up somebody else's tree. But that's just crazy, man. It's like they're everywhere.
Well, apparently, I mean, there's millions of them. It's Moloch's. Is that the bull one? The one that has the horns? So I was.
They were burning it, or no? Right, that's Baal. I'm sorry.
Is that Baal the one that they said that's what started the?
Moloch is the owl.
Oh, okay, okay, all right.
Yeah, the effigy of the owl is supposed to be Moloch.
Okay, that's the one they were burning babies and children in, and they're like, well, I don't know if that's okay in the Bohemian Grove.
Yeah.
And then the bull one's the one that they said that started this Iranian war. Because
they burned that effigy of Baal in Iran because they say that we worship that god.
Right.
I mean, they're wrong about me. I don't know about the government or whatever they're doing, but for me, they're absolutely wrong.
Right.
So,
and there's a lot of people here that,
most people don't even know what Baal is. You know what I mean? Most people don't even know what these demonic gods are. you know?
Right. Well, no. When they were burnt. Well, no, and that's why I had to ask. I asked you and the guy at my work too, and I was like, and he was telling me about. He was giving me kind of a backstory on it. And I was lost. I mean, it looked familiar, and I was like, I know that I should know who that is, but I just
in the Abaddon, the demon of destruction. That's like exactly what all governments. That's what humans do a lot. We destroy things that somebody else put together.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's insane, but it is everywhere. And I guess the main reason I wanted to bring this up is just so everybody's aware, you know, like you got to really watch what you're doing. That whole getting consent by not saying no. You know what I mean? Like if you don't say anything, then they just figure that's your consent.
Which is BS because
it's crazy, but it is. That's the way it is. They can tell you what it is, and then if you don't say no, then they're in.
Right.
You know, and it there's all kinds of things that we could be affected by, but it's just crazy, man. It's like it instantly started making me think about the authority figures in our government.
The possession.
Yeah. Some crazy stuff.
You never know, you know. It could run deep, man. It's a deep rabbit hole, deep. Which is cool. Sometimes.
It seems like everything we've talked about on this podcast has had like way deeper stuff in it than we've even brought to the surface. You know,
right?
It's like,
well, even that phone booth thing. You know,
yeah.
I mean, hey, it's funky, but
yeah, there's probably like you call that like 4-digit code or something, and then remember. Was it Spies Like Us? Remember when they went to that movie theater in the middle of the desert?
Oh, yeah. It was the drive-in. Yeah.
He goes, why don't you get you guys the Coke?
Coke, yep.
You know, maybe it was one of those things. Maybe it was Bill and Ted's phone booth from
That's what, you
the 80s.
Know. I mean, it's interesting. So
yeah.
World's a funky place.
Who knows? There's all kinds of possibilities about all kinds of things, but this next part we're going to talk about is being spoon-fed radiation when you're an unknowing child, and you have no right to say no.
Once again, silence is golden.
And just guess who's behind it.
In 1994, a man named Fred Boyce was driving through Massachusetts. A news report came on his car radio. A government committee had just revealed something horrifying. Children at a state institution had been fed radioactive cereal. The institution was the Fernald State School in Waltham. Boyce had lived there as a child and eaten that cereal. He had been a member of that club, they described. For 45 years, he believed joining the science club meant someone cared about him. That morning, sitting in his car on the side of the road, he learned what it actually meant. He was a test subject, and he had always been one. And the people who fed him that breakfast had known exactly what they were doing. The Fernald State School was founded in 1848 as the Massachusetts School for the Feeble-Minded. It was the first publicly funded institution for developmentally disabled people in the Western Hemisphere. By the early 1900s, its superintendent, Walter E. Fernald, had turned it into something else entirely. Fernald sat on the board of the Eugenics Society. He believed certain people were genetically inferior and should be separated from the rest of society permanently. Under his leadership, the school stopped being a school. It became a warehouse. Children were committed there not because they were disabled, but because they were inconvenient. Orphans. foster kids who had run out of foster homes, poor children from broken families, kids who misbehaved or tested below average on IQ exams that have since been thoroughly discredited. At its peak, the institution held roughly 2,500 people across 72 buildings on nearly 200 acres. Historian Michael D'Antonio estimated that at least half the residents would function normally in today's world. Across the country, during the worst decades of the eugenics movement, approximately 200,000 relatively normal children were locked away in more than 100 similar institutions. They were labeled with clinical terms: idiot, imbecile, moron. These were official medical classifications stamped on their permanent records. Fred Boyce was 7 years old when the state of Massachusetts committed him to Fernald. His mother had abandoned him. He had been a ward of the state since he was 8 months old. He had already lived in 7 foster homes. When his last foster mother died, the state needed somewhere to put him. Fernald was easier than finding another family, so they sent him through the iron gates and stamped his file with a single word: moron. His intelligence tested within the normal range. He simply had never been educated. The conditions inside Fernald were exactly what you would expect from a place designed to make children disappear. Staff forced boys to sit on wooden benches for hours with their arms folded. If you unfolded your arms, you were hit. Children performed unpaid manual labor, making brooms, brushes, and furniture, doing maintenance, preparing food. They received almost no education. The most capable residents kept the institution running, while the institution kept them invisible. One building was later described as a place where human waste covered the floors and drugged residents sat half-dressed in rows, moaning. Visitors who came decades later confirmed those descriptions were accurate. This was the daily reality for thousands of American children whose only crime was being born into circumstances no one wanted to deal with. And it was into this environment, in the fall of 1949, that researchers from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology arrived with an idea. MIT created something called the Science Club. The pitch was simple. Join the club and you would get things no child at Fernald ever received: extra food, trips outside the institution, tickets to Boston Red Sox games, Mickey Mouse watches, attention from adults who seemed to care. About 90 boys signed up. Fred Boyce was one of them. He later said that life at Fernald was so brutal he would have volunteered for anything. If the scientist had offered an outing in exchange for eating arsenic, his hand would have gone up. The boys did not know what they were joining. Their parents, for those who had parents, received a letter from the superintendent describing special breakfast meals that would help improve the children's nutrition. The letter never mentioned radiation. It never mentioned radioactive isotopes. It used opt-out consent, meaning silence was treated as agreement. And for the children who were wards of the state, the superintendent himself signed the consent forms. The same man who ran the institution approved the experiments on the children in his care. There was no independent oversight. There was no one whose job it was to ask whether this was acceptable. Between 1946 and 1953, MIT professor of nutrition Robert S. Harris and his team conducted 3 separate experiments on Fernald residents. In the first, boys ate oatmeal coated with radioactive iron tracers across 7 meals. Their spleens absorbed between 544 and 1,024 millirems of radiation. In the second, 36 boys drank milk containing radioactive calcium tracers. In the third, 9 boys were injected directly with radioactive calcium through a syringe. The subjects were between 10 and 17 years old. The total number of children involved was at least 74. Here is the part that should make you set down whatever you were eating. The entire reason these experiments existed was a serial marketing war. In the late 1940s, Quaker oats and cream of wheat were competing for dominance in the American breakfast market. Recent studies had suggested that a chemical called phytate, found naturally in oats, interfered with iron absorption. This gave cream of wheat a potential nutritional advantage. Quaker oats needed data to fight back, so Quaker supplied the cereal. MIT received funding through a named Quaker Oats Fellowship. The United States Atomic Energy Commission supplied the radioactive isotopes, and the Fernald State School supplied the children. 74 boys fed radioactive breakfast so a cereal company could win a marketing argument. The results were exactly what Quaker wanted. Oatmeal was no worse than cream of wheat at promoting iron absorption. That finding went straight into advertising. The calcium injection study produced something else. Researchers discovered that calcium deposits directly into bones after entering the bloodstream. That became foundational research for osteoporosis science. Every time you hear that milk builds strong bones, there is a line that connects back to Fernald. 9 boys were injected with radioactive material without their knowledge or consent. That nutritional fact was purchased with something that was not for sale. Now, the strongest counter-argument. Multiple task forces concluded that the radiation doses were small. A 1994 Massachusetts state panel found no measurable health effects. The exposure was roughly equivalent to receiving 30 consecutive chest X-rays, which sounds alarming but falls within ranges that do not typically cause detectable harm. I sat with that fact for a long time. It almost closed the door for me. If no one was physically injured, what exactly is the crime? Then I read the full testimony. A researcher named Bertrand Brill from MIT was asked about the choice of test subjects. Under pressure, he admitted the truth plainly. They should not have used a group that had no way to say no. That sentence reframes everything. The damage was not the radiation. The damage was a system that manufactured consent from people who had no ability to refuse. Children without parents. Children whose legal guardian was the same person approving the experiments. Children who had been classified as subhuman by the state that was supposed to protect them. The radiation was the method. The real violation was the architecture that made these children available. They'd been erased from society before the first spoonful of oatmeal ever reached their mouths. And Fernald was not an isolated case. When the story broke in December 1993, it triggered something much larger. Energy Secretary Hazel O'Leary launched a federal investigation into government-sponsored radiation experiments. President Clinton established the Advisory Committee on Human Radiation Experiments in January 1994. Over 18 months, the committee reviewed millions of declassified pages from 6 cabinet offices. What they found was staggering. Between 1944 and 1974, the United States government had sponsored several thousand human radiation experiments on an estimated 20,000 or more unwitting American citizens. At Vanderbilt University in the 1940s, 800 pregnant women were given radioactive iron in drinks described as vitamins. At the University of Iowa in 1953, newborn babies were fed radioactive iodine. In Cincinnati between 1960 and 1971, 200 cancer patients, mostly poor, mostly black, were irradiated without informed consent while being told they were receiving treatment. Prisoners in Washington and Oregon's state prisons were used for radiation tests. More than 200,000 military personnel were exposed during atomic weapons tests. 18 people were injected with plutonium at hospitals across the country. Most of them were poor. Most of them were sick. None of them were told what was being put into their veins. In Hanford, Washington, in 1949, the Atomic Energy Commission deliberately released iodine-131 into the atmosphere, contaminating 500,000 acres, including 3 small towns. And here is the detail that should keep you awake. A 1947 internal AEC memorandum recommended that these experiments not be made public. The reason, stated in a direct quote from a government document, was that it might have an adverse effect on public opinion or result in legal suits. They knew. They knew it was wrong. They said so in writing. And they did it anyway because the people they were doing it to did not have the power to stop them. The test subjects were always drawn from the same pool. The institutionalized, the imprisoned, the terminally ill, the poor, the abandoned, the people society had already decided did not count. The Advisory Committee's final report was released on October 3, 1995 at a White House ceremony. President Clinton called the experiments morally troubling and issued a formal apology. Fred Boyce was there. He watched the president speak. And later he said it was not enough to compensate these guys who had their lives ruined because people were trying to do good. But here is something almost no one mentions about that date. October 3rd, 1995, the single most significant revelation about government experimentation on American citizens was released to the public on the exact same day the entire country was watching the O.J. Simpson verdict. The biggest news cycle in a generation swallowed the story whole. Whether that timing was terrible luck or something more deliberate, I cannot say for certain. But the result was the same. The country barely noticed. I need to be honest about something. There is a version of this story that is easier to tell. The version where you focus on the radiation, call it monstrous, and move on. The clean outrage version. But that version lets the system off the hook, because the radiation experiments lasted 7 years. Fred Boyce's institutionalization lasted 11. The label on his file lasted his entire life. He left Fernald at 19 with almost no ability to read. He cleaned up after Red Sox games at Fenway Park. He washed dishes. He eventually bought a portable carnival game booth and traveled the circuit because his lack of education closed every other door. He taught himself to read as an adult. He married. He raised a family. He built a life from materials most people would consider nothing. And he spent decades fighting for one thing that had nothing to do with radioactive cereal. He wanted the state of Massachusetts to remove the word moron from his records. He wanted an apology, not for the experiments, for being told he was not part of the species, for being locked behind iron gates at age 7 because the state found it easier than finding him a home. He never received that apology. When Fred Boyce died on May 6, 2006, at the age of 65, the word moron was still on his file. The class action lawsuit against MIT and Quaker Oats settled in January 1998 for $1.85 million. Split among claimants, each person received roughly $20,000 to $30,000. MIT's vice president compared the total settlement to the tuition of 20 students. Quaker Oats denied playing a significant role, claiming they only donated some cereal and provided a small research grant. No individual researcher was ever criminally charged. Konstantin Maletskos, the MIT researcher who studied how the boys metabolized radioactive calcium, was interviewed decades later. His response has stayed with me since I first read it. He said he felt just as good about the experiments as the day he conducted them. Just as good. About feeding radioactive material to children who could not refuse. That sentence is its own verdict. The Fernald campus closed its doors for the last time on November 13, 2014, when the final resident was discharged. The buildings still stand, but not for long. They are being demolished. In January 2024, a journalist named Oliver Egger, who is Walter Fernald's own great-great-grandson, discovered that thousands of confidential patient records had been left on the abandoned campus. Medical files. Personal histories. The documentation of lives spent inside those walls, just sitting there for anyone to find, a violation of federal privacy law confirmed by the state. And in April 2025, a 4-alarm fire swept through the site. The physical evidence of what happened at Fernald is disappearing. The buildings are coming down, the records were left to rot, and then to burn. The campus is on fire, and nobody seems troubled by what the flames are consuming. You probably had cereal this morning, or yesterday, or you will tomorrow. Somewhere in the long chain of nutritional science that shapes your breakfast, there are 74 boys who were never asked. Boys who thought joining a club meant someone finally saw them as human. Boys who discovered 45 years later that they were data points in a marketing study funded by a company that sold oatmeal. I think about what Fred Boyce said when he learned the truth. He did not describe rage. He did not describe shock. He called it a disappointing type of feeling. That is the word a man uses when betrayal is so familiar it no longer surprises him. When being used is just another version of being forgotten. When the people who were supposed to protect you turn out to be the ones who handed you over. Every morning, millions of people pour cereal into a bowl without knowing the smallest part of where the science came from, without knowing who was fed what, without knowing their names. The Fernald campus is burning and nobody is asking what is being lost in the fire. The records were left behind. The buildings are coming down. The word moron is still on Fred Boyce's file. And the cereal is still on the shelf.
What the heck, dude?
Like I said, human sacrifice, man.
Right.
It's like somebody's up there going, kill them all.
Right.
Doesn't matter.
They're not, they're not humans. They don't,
Like
matter. They're just, dude. I mean, seriously, it's over and over and over and over again. And it just
it's always something, man.
Right.
Like it reminds me of that orphan train thing.
Right.
And 200,000 kids went through that place right there. And
there's kids that disappeared that they don't even, and obviously something probably not good happened.
Well, I mean, they probably buried them or burned them.
Yeah.
Cremated them, whatever they needed to do.
Fed them to the pigs.
Yeah, something. It's terrible that, especially back in those days. That girl talked about it on the video, this last video that we put out, where she said, how do you basically control a population is you show how barbaric and evil people used to be, and then you show them how evil and barbaric people are now.
Right.
And that's what it struck my mind when I watched this video, because it's the truth, though. People are still evil and barbaric.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was like, oh, it's because we used to be. I think it's because just how people are, you know what I mean? And we want to be taken care of and have everything and all this stuff. And it's like, once you get it, that power is not enough, And so we have to figure out how to, with these corporations, when they're like feeding, mom and pop at home, malto meal or oatmeal, and they're like, I don't really know if I like the oatmeal. It's okay. We're going to go sacrifice 200,000 kids and find out if we can get some text that we can put on that label to make sure that you buy our oatmeal instead of that malto meal. It's like, holy crap. Dude.
I mean, it's all about money.
So if they could do that, then why couldn't they bring down 3 buildings in New York City?
To start a war.
So they can get their, insurance money and all this stuff, man. Trillions of dollars.
Here. But he went for $9 million, and they bought it for $4.5 million.
We really can't forget that day, that horrific day that we were attacked on our own country, our own turf. And it happened right here, and that's why it's really not appropriate to build a mosque here. It just isn't. It's just insensitive. We're wide open to religious freedom, but not in this spot.
I leave you with greetings of peace.
I would like, Americans to understand that whatever extremists did on 9/11 does not represent all of Muslims or all of Islam.
Are you watching closely?
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
Who's seen those videos where they're like, oh my God, the Muslims are taking over New York City? You seen those? You seen those? Let them know that we are taking over New York City.
People are stupid.
Tell me about what's going on here today.
So today we do this every year, and it is called Tarawih in Times Square. So Ramadan has entered for the Muslims, and Tarawih is a prayer that we pray every night. And so today the main purpose is just to show everyone what that looks like, to show people and teach people what Islam really is about, what the Quran actually says, rather than the things that are being shown in left and right in the media and whatever have you.
Yes.
So it's about clarity, it's about building a community and things of that nature.
And have you organized it personally? Are you with a company?
The organizer is my brother.
Do you think this is the behavior of a Christian? Do you think our actual Christian brothers and sisters behave like this? No. These are the extremist far-right versions of the Christians. This isn't what Christianity teaches you. What did Christianity teach you? Let me teach you. Let me show you something. Come and bring your cheek over here so I can slap it and you can turn the other cheek.
People are stupid.
The messaging you just heard is going through hundreds of mosques a day in New York City. I went to Little Palestine in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, and just look at how many mosques surrounded me. If you think this event in Times Square is just some isolated event and that Islam is not really spreading here, just look what happens when I try to do some street interviews in Little Palestine.
I'm doing a video right now on this area, and I was wondering if I could just ask you one question. Arabic? Hi. Can I ask you a question? Is that okay? I'm from Manhattan. Do you speak English? Only Arabic? Does anybody speak English here? If you steal something, Sharia law says you should get your hand cut off.
Okay.
Do you agree with that? Do you not agree with that?
It's not for me to agree or disagree, right? But when it comes to UK or US, and they say Sharia law is coming to these countries, first of all,
Please make sure that we are giving them out.
I'm just making sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, so first of all, in the UK and the US, when it comes to them being scared that Sharia law is coming, right? It is not, we in Islam, we actually honor the law of the land.
People are stupid.
Islam directly challenges the multi-billion-dollar industries that we don't stand for, such as pornography, such as alcohol, such what you can go on and on. Things that are genuinely draining not just individuals of a society or community, but communities as a whole, the nation as a whole. Islam is a clear threat to these industries. And so naturally from the beginning, Islam has been shot down.
People are stupid.
Because it challenges those who aim to make a fortune off of the downfall of others.
Yes.
And Islam is not like that.
Yeah.
This is their religion. This is what their beliefs are. That the best of prophets were doing the heinous and nastiest of acts. They hold the murder weapon on their necks. This is the backwardsness they're on. They draw their prophet. They draw their God. So are you surprised that they try to draw our prophet?
What do you say to these folks who are saying there's so many mosques in New York City, why do you have to pray outside? What do you say to those people?
It's a valid concern, but like we have the permits, so it's not their concern. We own the buildings, we have the permits. What are they gonna do?
Yeah.
He has the right to free speech. He can't assault anyone. That's what the NYPD is here.
Right.
If you notice, a lot of the cops, they're Muslim. They got beards. If you read their names, Muhammad, Noor, they're all Muslim. They're not gonna attack you. But if you have the right to free speech.
The cops are Muslim, you're saying?
They are.
Yeah.
A lot of them. You can read their names, Muhammad, Noor, they have it on their tag. I want to be a aspiring police officer. I'm in the army. This is a free country. We have a right to free speech.
Yeah.
We have the right to religion. We have the right to have our own religion.
Yeah, and you can get into this too. Why do you think that there is so much Islamophobia in America?
Well, I'd say mostly because of the terrorism from the 2001 to 2006 era, maybe a bit before that as well. A lot of propaganda from the Bush administration and so on from there as well. And then there's also the fact that a lot of us is not the same skin color as a lot of the protesters that are here. If you notice, they're all Caucasian white.
People are stupid.
It just happens to be the organizations that are carrying it out happen to be Muslim. That's not something we can control.
It just happens to be, or are they like in the Quran? I know it says to strike at the necks of disbelievers. Do you think that might be causing some of the terrorism?
That war is related to war. If you're at war, that is something you do.
Brothers.
The Quran has many different chapters. Many of them are about war and how to conduct yourself.
After 9/11, there was a motion to build a mosque on Ground Zero. It was actually a pretty well-known thing. Obama was supportive of it, and a few other people were supportive of it.
Obama was supportive?
Yeah, he was.
That's a bit strange. I personally wouldn't, because people wouldn't agree with that.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what I believe. People wouldn't agree with that. The people who go to pray there would be assaulted. There would be there would be a lot of public outrage. It doesn't make sense. I'm not sure why Obama would support it, but
yeah.
I'm not educated on the matter of why they wanted a mosque there.
I know no one talks about it anymore, but yeah.
I wouldn't want it, because if I went to pray there, I feel like I would get assaulted.
You see, my brothers and sisters, I cannot blame a moron who doesn't know anything about Islam. That's his job, to not understand and to try to say the nastiest of things about our prophet. But what about you? Don't you understand Islam? Don't you understand the significance? So when his name is mentioned, I want it to come from your core in your chest. And I want you to say it from your heart. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
People are stupid. Moving along, let's check in with Alex Jones for an Epstein case update.
Jeffrey Epstein is a blood-drinking, child-raping, child-eating devil worshiper.
Same. Thanks for the update, Alex.
Strange facts you may have never known. In Rhode Island, biting off another person's leg is illegal. That's what I said. It's a strange fact you may I have never known.
Only there?
Probably not. I mean, I would imagine it's probably illegal everywhere, but, you know, they put it out there on the strange facts that you may have never known, so I figured I'd give it to y'all. In Rhode Island, it is illegal to bite off somebody else's leg.
Damn it.
So, you know, maybe we could try it somewhere else and see.
Well, when did they change that?
Well, you know, I think, you know, it's probably one of those weird laws that they've had on, you know, record forever, you know.
Did they have issues with people biting people's legs off? That's insane,
must
man.
have, dude. You know, what the frick? I mean,
how does
in Rhode
how
Island
does that task force get developed?
It maybe wasn't even a real leg, too.
I can see you're hungry. Stop looking at her leg. Turn around. Walk away. Don't do it, man. It'll change your life. That's insane, man.
I mean, so, yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's frowned upon.
Everywhere to bite off somebody's leg?
The other 49 states.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure probably
not in Canada, though. It's probably okay in Canada.
Yo, let's go bite off somebody's leg, They're weird up there.
That's insane, dude.
Right on. I told you it was a good one.
We still have our legs
right?
Because we live in Colorado.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure it's illegal here too. So,
but I haven't seen people run around biting people's legs off here. That's only in Rhode Island.
Only in Rhode Island, so they had to make it a law.
And the Aurora Mall, maybe.
Yeah, if you've been to the Aurora Mall, you know what we're talking about.
Yeah,
some sketchy people there.
Zombies.
People are stupid.
Well, right on, you guys. Thank you for joining us again. Much appreciated.
Yeah.
Eric, this is Justin.
Yeah.
We definitely always appreciate you guys tuning in and giving thumbs up. Even if you want to give a thumbs down, that's okay as well. We'll take it because we know you listened. So
yeah, we appreciate it, guys. So, definitely check us out on all the other platforms: Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Amazon. We're all over the place.
We are everywhere, man.
If you want to,
everywhere.
If you want to support our channel and support our show, you can always do that through True Fans. I know it sounds kind of funky, but it's not. It's clean. It's legit. So it's called True Fans.
Not OnlyFans.
Not that. True Fans.